we're going to end this episode by talking about the comics that we're currently reading. So I'm going to ask you, Jon-Stephen, what comics you're reading. I'm going to share what I'm reading, and then we're going to end it with some of the submissions that people from Comic Watch, our Discord that we have, and people on Twitter had shared what they're reading. So let me go ahead and ask you, Jon-Stephen, what comics are you currently reading right now?
Well, I am way behind on stuff and catching up. I'm a father of a 6-year-old, so I'm like always like a few years behind on stuff
Yeah.
on my reading. But today I just finished N.K. Jemisin's Far Sector, which was
Oh,
awesome, so much fun.
yeah.
Just a real I love her. I love her novels, and to see her kind of take on Green Lantern was really cool. I'm gonna be catching up on DC stuff for preparing for James Gunn's take on DC. So
Mm-hmm.
next in my queue is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So I'm
Yes.
probably gonna pick that up tonight right after we get done talking.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I'm doing an Invincible reread, preparing for season 2. Of course, I've just figured like I'm just gonna read the whole series again, not just what might be in seasons 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So just gonna I'm between things. I'm always like picking up another issue of Invincible and kind of doing a reread there. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Nice. No, those are great picks. I really love those. Um, for me, I just finished up reading an issue of The Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing, and I gotta say, this series is definitely one that I think deserves a lot more attention because it's a phenomenal series. But it's really great because the story, pretty much lays out that there's two Jokers, so we don't know which one's the real one, basically. But it goes along the lines of this one Joker, thinks he's the real one, the other one thinks he's the real one. The one Joker keeps getting like killed, or he should have been killed off, and he's not dying. So he doesn't know why. He went to a hospital. They don't know why. And so there's a lot of mystery kind of built behind this. But it's just every issue just kind of ups it up a notch, and it's just a fantastic read. So I think it's one of those series that doesn't get mentioned enough. So that's why I wanted to bring that up for today's episode, because I just finished reading that one, and it's one of the few issues that I absolutely look forward to whenever I pick it up. I also bought a while back the entire collection of Tom King's Batman Catwoman, which I don't know how many issues in it, but it's a hardcover. It's a pretty thick book as well too. So I am trying to get through my unread pile this year and try to get caught up. So by the end of the year, all I'm doing is reading my new books that I'm getting. Batman is like the largest stack of comics that I have that I need to go through. And so that's why I wanted to start with Batman Catwoman, is to try to get that pile. Because I feel like once I get that pile done, everything else should be kind of like a snowball effect. But it's definitely taken a while to get to that. But so that's what I'm going to be reading pretty soon here. So let's look at what other people are reading this week. And from Comic Watch, we have Tyler Davis that said, I am finishing up Tom Taylor's Son of Kal-El run, and then is going to be doing a massive catch up with the last 4 years of X-Men, X-Force, Excalibur, Wolverine, and Immortal X-Men, with all the X events in between. Which we had a joke. We said, good luck, because you're probably going to be, taking the next 5 years figuring out, like reading through it and trying to figure out, getting caught up, because there's so many of those stories and there's just so much going on that
I
it is hard.
I was thinking about this, if somebody wants to like tweet me later, if they're listening, I'm at J Stansel. I was thinking I love X-Men, but I'm so far behind. Like, where's a good spot to jump back in? Because
I know.
there's cool stuff happening,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know where to like dive back in. So
I know.
I'd be
Yeah.
curious to hear what recommendations folks have.
Yeah. Oh, I had that same question because I had just finished reading about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I read the entire collection of House of X Powers of 10, which is what kind of set this whole X-Men storyline up. And I asked people, I said, I just don't have the time or capacity to read all the X-Men books series to get caught up, because there's just so much going on. So I just asked people, like, what is the one that you think would be the best one? And the number one answer I got from a lot of people is the Immortal X-Men, because that one, every issue kind of focuses on a different character as part of the council for Krakoa. but it gives you kind of fills in of like what's been going on in the other stories as well. So it doesn't give you all the details, but at least gives you enough so that way you can kind of still follow the story. But I'll say this, when I read those books, I absolutely love it, but I'm still confused as heck, like really, really bad. But I still enjoy it at the end of the day. So I don't know all that's going on when I'm reading just the one series. But it's still a fantastic read. I really been enjoying all of them. Right now, they've kind of did another like big event with a Sense of Sinister where now they don't have the like Immortal X-Men running now, but they have 3 series, which is like Nightcrawler, Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants, and Immoral X-Men. So not Immortal, but Immoral X-Men going on. But yeah, so there's so much going on. They do their best to try to fill you in a little bit, but yeah, there's just a lot. I think at some point they're going to try to bring him back down so that way there's not so many like going out. I think they're going to do some another major event to try to reel it back in at some point. So, but if you're looking for one, Immortal X-Men I think is a really good one, and then the other ones, probably Immoral X-Men because it still kind of goes with Immortal in terms of looking at the different characters and kind of fills you in with the other ones as well too. But even Rogue and Gambit is still kind of part of that series as well too. Even though it's not like Sins of Sinister, they're still talking about what's been going on with Krakoa and what they've been doing as well too. So yeah, there's a lot.
Add that one to the list.
Yeah, exactly. Gabriel De Jesus said, I'm binge X reading, knocked out Orlando's Marauders and Knights of X. So, all the books that we were talking about earlier. Then got Immortal X-Men and Legion up to Judgment Day. It's definitely reminded me both of what I love and hate about this era. So I even forgot, like, there's all these other books and spin-off that happened before we got into the Sins of Sinister. So they definitely kind of scaled it down, but there's just so many because they had, lives and deaths of Wolverine and like Swords of X and all that. So,
you know what I wish they would do would be awesome if they, because, the way I got caught up as a kid was the X-Men trading cards, and they had all like the stories on the back, and like you could just like, I didn't read Dark Phoenix Saga because I was like 21, but I knew what it was because I had the trading cards when I was a kid. Like, and they just put like all the trading cards in a book. Those 90 trading cards. I would love for those to come back again. Those were so much fun.
I know, yeah, or some version of that, right? Because I remember when I was a kid, you could get all that stuff, and it's all kind of telling the same story as well too. And for me, the Phoenix Saga, I didn't get exposed to until the X-Men animated series did that. And I just remember like bits and pieces here and there and everything, but I never really read it in the comics, but that's where my exposure was in the animated series. But that's a great idea. At least it's something to kind of give you those, like snapshots, like overview. So that way you kind of know what's going on in each of those stories. B Rat says, I'm rereading the 1991's Mutant Genesis books, trying to remember why I fell in love with comics to begin with. I don't think I've heard of Mutant Genesis. Have you?
I've heard of it, but I haven't had a chance to dive into it.
Gotcha. I'm going to have to look into that now. So, and then Anthony Bergamini said, I'm just getting into Superman Godfall. I'm really enjoying it. It's different than the average Superman story, kind of more of a drawn out version of For the Man Who Has Everything. That's another Superman story I have not read either. Is that one that you've read or heard of before?
No, I haven't, but I'm getting back into Superman now, so I'll have to pick that one up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, and I'm surprised how many Superman stories are out there. I guess I knew there were some, but I didn't realize how many kind of versions of Superman that has been written over the years and everything. So I'm really surprised to learn like just so many series and sort of stories of Superman that has not only the story of him, but just kind of like different takes on it. That sounds really interesting. So yeah, so Godfall I've never heard of before, so I'm gonna have to check that out as well. You'll like this one because from our Illuminati Discord, which is a Discord server that me and a couple other podcasters are running to kind of create a community for other people who enjoy nerdy stuff and comics and films and stuff like that. Kim from the ODPH podcast says that he's reading Adventures of Superman John Kent, Black Cloak and Monarch from Image. No One #1, which is the latest edition in the Massiverse, is what he said with the companion podcast. So he's already, on top of all that as well. And he's been saying some great things about that. He's the one that I've actually heard about Radiant Black and Radiant Pink and all of that. He keeps talking about it. Yeah.
I have interacted with him from the brand accounts. So yes.
You know what? What's funny is in the Discord,
I know
he
the
said
name,
that.
yes.
He's like, he's probably going to remember me as that guy that keeps interacting with them.
And keep on at it.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And then he says that he's catching up on Berserker from Boom Studios as well. He said Adventures of
another one on my list.
I know. Well, and especially I didn't realize until much later, because I've always heard of Berserker, but I didn't realize till much later that Keanu Reeves was the person behind it, you know, which made sense. I should have known, because I remember one of the issues, like the cover, I was like, that looks a lot like Keanu Reeves, you know. But yeah, so Ken said that Adventures of Superman John Kent by Tom Taylor kicks things off with a huge test for the young hero with the new focus on family steel. This is a perfect jump on point for new long-time readers, which I've not had a chance to read that, but I read some of Kal-El's 18-issue story arc and absolutely loved that. So I'm sure I would love this once I start reading it. Matt Martin from the Panel to Panel podcast said he's reading Venom from Donny Cates, The Flash, Clear, and the latest Moon Knight series. And then Joe Loves Comics said that apart from the weekly polls he has of Batman, Fantastic Four, and Clear, which he loves, he has been reading Four Kids Walk Into a Bank from Matt Rosenberg and Tyler Boss this week and really enjoyed it, which is interesting. He shared that because Matt Rosenberg is the person that wrote Joker, the Man Who Stopped Laughing that I was talking about earlier. So I'm definitely going to have to check that out because of that. But I have not heard of Four Kids Walk Into a Bank, so I'm kind of really curious.
I love the title.
Yeah, right. Like, because you're thinking like it's like a setup to a joke, you know. So now it's very intriguing to see what it's about. And then on Twitter, we have at FettBizarro said Tom Taylor's Boba Fett stuff right now. He's really digging it. And I didn't realize Tom Taylor was writing a Boba Fett series, so that's really cool. And then the art from Chris Scalf in the series is tight as heck, and he might start up Punk Rock Jesus tomorrow, which I did not realize there was a comic series called Punk Rock Jesus. So I don't know if I'll read it, but I definitely want to just kind of read the synopsis and see what it's about. I think it's really interesting. And then at Year of the Loser said Scarlet Witch #3 was such a beautiful book this week. I like the storytelling through Wanda, which is very soothing. And Batman the Joker, the Deadly Duo #5 shocked me in a good way with the reveal of the villain in the end. Big oof is what he said. Yeah, Scarlet Witch is a really good book. I read the first issue and I thought it was really good. And from what somebody had told me is that Scarlet Witch is doing something similar to what like the Human Target was doing, where every issue it's a kind of dedicated on a particular character that Wanda is helping. So she kind of has like almost like a mystical detective agency thing like set up to where people might need her help. This automatically comes through this portal that she has in her shop. And what's funny is I don't know if you know that about this, Jon-Stephen, but Scarlet Witch #1 makes Darcy from the MCU, from the Thor movies, now comic canon because that's her first appearance in the comics as Scarlet Witch #1, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I absolutely love the series for that, but I think there's something to say about the model of writing stories where every issue is kind of dedicated on like a different problem with a different character. It's definitely more episodic, and I think that it's been really successful when people have been implementing that lately. So.
Yeah, that's always nice. You can kind of have a little one and done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for sharing what comics you're currently reading this week.